Welcome everyone to What the Force, and welcome to Bad Batch Report. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host, and with me is Kyle Gould.
Wow, 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 wow. Yeah, it's me. Just felt like cheering for myself today.
All right, cool. So this is the part one
Yes.
of two of the season finale. We have heard Bad Batch is being renewed. Surprise!
Star Wars, Bad Batch, finale, part one, return to Kamino.
Yes, that is the full. that is its full legal name. It only goes by Bad Batch season finale part one, apparently in some places though.
Right, finale part one, but it's called Return to Kamino.
Yep.
2 titles. Interesting. Well, I will say this.
Yes. Ooh.
Finally, titles that I like.
Complaint all season. You would have been fine with just finale part one?
Finale part one? Fine. Sounds delightful.
Return to Kamino? They did return to Kamino.
I know, right? The whole thing was about going back to Kamino. And they even apologized for it to Omega. And said we never were going to come back here. And yet we did. So that was really cool. Told us a whole bunch of things about going back to Kamino, but also calling it finale part one.
Helped us because then we're like, hey,
right?
We know stuff is going to follow this, just like how we were like, they could have probably done part one, part two with the Ryloth rescue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely should have done that before. If you're willing to do that here, you should have done that before. But also knowing that
they heard something and changed the name. Because the name on the episode, so actually inside of the episode is Return to Kamino.
Right.
And then on the Disney Plus app, it's season finale part one.
Yeah, actually it doesn't say season finale.
Or finale.
It just says finale. And that made me worried. So then I went and Googled it. And of course, yes, they've already renewed the second season.
Renewed it to a second season, yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
But calling it finale part one, if this show did not have a second season, things were going to get dark. I do not doubt.
Okay, but we'll get to that, like with where we are left off, etc. in the episode. We'll get to that, but
yes.
This really does prove the adage right. You can never go home again.
Yes. Well, one time. I would like to bring up something though. That you've had trouble with for the last decade, and that is opening the garage door with your clicker. It seems like you can only open the garage door when we pull up to the house when we're really, really close to the house.
And so sometimes I have to press it 4 times.
Yeah, I don't. And then you press it and it opens only a little bit, and then you have to press it and it goes down, then you press it and it opens again, and everybody just goes, ugh.
You're embarrassing me. You're embarrassing me.
But
yes,
this show really spoke to me with regards to that, because it's obviously not a problem just you have.
I know, right?
Right? This is a problem other people doubtlessly have, because this is a major thing that's developed.
Okay, where it starts is I want to take, yes, we will talk about my weird inability to open my own garage door momentarily, but then we have to go back a little bit because I have some thoughts on the start of the episode. So.
Sure. Yeah, I just really needed to get this one out because that arrival on Kamino, where you have to get closer. No, closer. No, you have to almost touch it. It just seemed like pulling up to the garage door.
It's also how I back out of parking spaces, by the way. True. I back out and I'm like, wait, slow, and I press on the brake. I'm like, okay, nobody behind me. Okay, nobody behind. Okay, go another. I drive you nuts. I know I do.
I've gotten used to that part.
Yes.
The fact that anytime you go into reverse to back out of something, you have to stop at least 4 times.
I just want to make.
It's just a thing. You're just careful.
I don't want to run over a cat.
Or a kid. Or a bike. Or a person.
Or anything.
Or hit something. No, it's fair, right?
When you're driving front, you can see everything. When you're driving back, you have to check multiple angles.
Right. You're sacrificing 5 seconds of our lives. It's just you can really feel those 5 seconds. Anyway, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Off the top.
This has a new meaning for me. Do you think that it literally came from somebody I don't know, approaching, like trying to park into a parking space who's like super slow at parking. It's like somebody trying to parallel park. Like, really?
Yeah. Or just like the sensors really, like they need to change the battery on the sensor at the Kamino tube station.
Yeah, she's like, it's kind of broken. I didn't want to mention this, but
it was adorable. It was real. And yeah, it was well written because I immediately connected
Lawn
with that.
Way hasn't changed the battery in a really long time. And I don't really want to speak anything about them, but...
Exactly.
Yeah. Like my faked Kamino name I just came up with.
That was great. I thought that was literally some actual person, like Nalase's assistant, Lawn Way.
Nope.
No,
made it up. All right, let's rewind a little bit. So where it starts out, of course, is
the beginning.
Of course, the team is getting stressed out because they went back to home base with their broken ship that was obviously blown to heck. Yep. And they're trying to fix the ship, and Hunter is like, "Mwahaha, evil. I'm going to lead you. I'm going to set a trap for the rest of the Bad Batch by leaving your comlink open."
You mean Crosshair, not Hunter, right?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No, Crosshair to Hunter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yep.
That scene between the two of them.
Yeah.
Juicy.
Very. Yes. It just, this whole concept reminded me of breadcrumbs in a forest with Hansel and Gretel.
Yes.
Or something along those lines. Like, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna, like, Hunter would have done this anyways. Like, it's not like Crosshair could have just left his comm and been like, I don't know that but instead he wanted to specifically torture him with the idea that he is being led into a trap. I thought that was very interesting because he could have pretended like he didn't know that Crosshair would probably leave his comm link open.
That Hunter would leave
Crosshair that Hunter would leave his comm link open.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. They are very interchangeable in this episode.
I'm sorry.
It's true.
I'm sorry. They're like two sides of a coin in a way. And a lot of people have pointed out the familiarity of these interactions with, say, Kenobi and Anakin Vader on Mustafar.
Yeah.
And it's very like, come join me. No. And if that were to turn out differently, like Kenobi managed to knock out Anakin.
As opposed to throw him in a lake of fire.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
The visual similarities of his hair is Hunter's and Obi-Wan Kenobi's hair is there.
This episode, especially just this opening scene, gave me more questions about Crosshair than I had expected to have. Mm-hmm. I had thought that I was going to be getting answers to things this episode, and all they did was reframe the questions.
Yes.
And that's a pivot I wasn't expecting and really enjoyed.
A lot of people were like, I just want him to be making his own decisions and not being controlled by the chip.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people have been saying that, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like,
wait, what?
How long have you been making your own decisions, Crosshair? Oh my God, you have not been controlled by this chip, but for how long?
Yeah.
Because obviously he could not have been controlled by the chip. He had to have been controlled by the chip at the beginning of the episode. At the beginning of the season.
I mean, we see the chip on the screen.
Right?
So unless that was fake. I mean, more questions, right?
Exactly. I mean, we definitely got the feeling that he was being manipulated by the chip in the beginning. The way he was saying things, the way he was talking and acting definitely seemed like the chip was there. How quickly afterwards was the chip removed, though?
Yeah. It's interesting because it's like, what is his motivation for bringing back Hunter specifically? Well, to pull in everybody and try and convince them, like, purpose.
Yeah.
And that's always sort of the interesting question about Star Wars that I find dark side users are people who kind of fall down this slippery path, right? They're always like, I'm looking for purpose. And if they're given a purpose, it is satisfying in some way, right? Yeah. Regardless of the evil that is involved in it. And it's because we ourselves really do like to align to societal norms if we can if we fit into them as humans.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to buck societal norms. It's hard to buck what society says we should be doing.
It's that whole super ego, right?
Yeah. It's like as much as we want to yell at police officers for being corrupt directly to their face, we're probably going to listen to them when they show up, right? And also you listen to people in lab coats, but it seems like there's been like in recent years more of a breakdown of those societal norms with more information being out there, and people are taking on these authoritative voices inside of our society because of social media. It's just it's a really interesting conversation because people who wear uniforms or dress in a particular way were conditioned from a young age to listen to, and if people speak with a certain amount of authority, we do.
Those are the two of the 6 instances of how a person displays power, right?
Yeah.
Power and authority is one, they're in a uniform, so they must have some sort of respected field or position, right?
Yep.
And we've been faked on that quite a bit with our talking heads for the 6 o'clock news, because they used to be a figurehead of authority and power, so the things that they say we could trust. And lo and behold, they have manipulated that so that we can't anymore. And then police officers abuse their power, and so can we trust the uniform that the person is wearing any longer?
Right.
If the people who are wearing the uniform do not recognize the influence and power that they have.
Yeah.
How we got to this, from the Star Wars Bad Batch here, I'm interested in seeing how you pull this back.
It's just in the absence of leadership, people will follow kind of anything that looks like it, quacks like it, looks like it, right? And that's the problem with Crosshair's logic, almost from the beginning of the episode, is that he's just literally looking for somebody to lead him.
Right. Somebody to recognize his superiority, for one.
Right.
Because he knows he's not a normal reg. He's got to think beyond what a normal reg would think. He's better than the TK units.
He's special. And so is the rest of the Bad Batch. He recognizes that too. And he has that familial appreciation of like, I'm not like the other girls, boys.
Yep.
I'm not like the other people. And the thing is, like, this is like the conversation that is in at least predominantly Western society now, which is that these kids literally are growing up, kids and adults especially, are growing up and being told, hey, generic cis white man, you're actually special. It's the world that is telling you that you're not special.
Right.
This is like, in so many ways, the like all lives matter conversation, but like in a microcosm of the Star Wars universe. It's fascinating.
What more intrigued me was recognizing 2 or 3 episodes ago when Crosshair went to Rampart. What was one of the first names that somebody gave Rampart this week?
It
was a really silly first name.
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Went to Rampart, and while you look it up,
Rampart.
I went to Admiral Rampart, which is actually his first name. So he's Admiral Rampart. I think was part of that, correct?
I think so, yeah.
So went to Admiral Rampart and said to him, you have to let me do it now. I need to bring them in. I need this. And it's not to kill them, which is what I had suspected. I had thought he was going to take them out. I had thought, you know what? They've been trying to basically take out the Bad Batch most of this season. I thought Crosshair was going to want to take out, but it's not that at all. He wants to convince them.
Yeah.
That was a nice turning point for me in this episode.
But this is not unlike some of the conversations that you have with your unfortunate uncles, right? Like,
right? Your family, so you must agree with me.
Yes.
I know, right? Like, I'm the bad guy and I don't believe in getting my vaccination. You agree with that too, don't you, Kyle? I'm like, yeah, no, goodbye.
I want to have my vaccination and, protect my family.
Yeah. There are other reasons for me to get the vaccination than just my own personal me. I mean, that's part of it for me too, was like, hey, I'm going to be protected. Oh, is this going to protect the people around me who cannot get the vaccine? That I'll be less communicative of it. I mean, I think that the Delta and Lambda variants may be breaking down the vaccine and make people contagious still, but it'll still make me less contagious.
Mm-hmm.
Nonetheless.
It reduces the vectors by which it can happen. And like, so the whole point is like, Crosshair is now that, like you said, like a couple of episodes ago, that unfortunate uncle who you don't agree with, but you still love.
Yep.
Damn.
Also, it says even more about, because as it went through the episode, I mean, we get this right at the beginning. He's got a plan. He's taking Hunter somewhere specific. He's activated the communicator to bring the rest of the Bad Batch there. He knows what they're all probably going to do, and he plans for it.
And he's very smart, and he understands their tactics. Even their tactics, like if we're thinking about games theory, right? Like their tactics that they come up with, knowing what the most logical path to success will be for Crosshair.
Exactly.
So they've come up with tactics to countermand his tactics, and so he came up with tactics to countermand their countermanded tactics.
It's a brilliant and beautiful chess game.
Bam!
Which I don't know if you know this because you've been going to bed really early lately because of your back, but I've been up late quite a few nights this week watching people beat chess hucksters in New York City on YouTube, and I'm getting to the point where I can start to see the initial move of like, oh, okay, I'm going to go here, and that's going to lead you to thinking that I'm going to make all of these moves so that you make 3 moves to block that potential gambit that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But because I did this, it was actually a feint that has led me to do these other 2 moves that look similar to what you were expecting from me, but they have feinted you to attack my left flank, and I've slid in, and now you've lost a rook, a cardinal, or a bishop, and 2 pawns.
A high point piece,
And literally the person after they've made the 3rd moves, she usually says, would you like to resign now? Because it's over. And he says, and without fail, one of these male hucksters, usually old guys, big bravado, they're like, no, I'm going to play. And then she just walks them through the finale of it. And it's brilliant chess.
That's awesome. I had no idea that's what you were doing late at night.
It's so weird, the things you can fall into from YouTube. But at the same time, that's what we watched in this episode.
Yes.
Is we watched this. And yet at the same time, he's won. And they are many.
Yes. And that's the point, right? They think about things differently. And he always underestimates the factor that he doesn't know, which is Omega.
Yep.
So cool. Okay, so they arrive on Kamino, and there's a nice play of the Kamino music from Attack of the Clones.
Yep.
You can hear it so clearly.
Yeah, they're telling us.
In the Kainai music. And they're telling us in some ways, like, this is also a downfall. This is also going to be a tragedy in so many ways.
Yeah. And we're not going to get to play this music again.
Yeah. Let's pull it out one last time.
Yep.
Dang.
So I had this great note.
Yeah.
Like, how many times have we seen these tube balls in Star Wars? And I was like, oh, right. 0 times. That was Troll Hunters.
That was Troll Hunters.
It the same thing.
They feel familiar. So Bad Batch lands, all secret like. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because this entire scene, this entire setup, this entire scene shows us a couple of things that we questioned about in the past, but it gives Omega authority over the Bad Batch because she was around or aware of things that they were not aware of.
Yeah.
And she knows things about them that they are not aware of. It is truthfully like family that has been around longer. Like, I remember when you were born.
Yeah. Because they're on an accelerated growth pattern that she's not on, right?
I remember when you were born. I knew about the experiments that were done on you. That's like, I knew about your first steps. I saw you when you were yay big. And so it instantly changes the power dynamic between her and the rest of the Bad Batch, except for perhaps Hunter, because he wasn't there for that conversation.
Exactly.
But the other 3, so like, except for Echo, but you know.
He grumpy.
He grumpy man. He's literally R2. I still can't get over that.
It's true.
He's so but Wrecker and Tech, like she now is like their older sister, but she was kind of already Wrecker's older sister, but now she's become Tech's older sister too.
Right?
Yeah.
It's that elevation of responsibility and that rise in esteem that she's earned, for one, and also kind of was due, given that she really is the same age as all of them.
She really is, yes.
But before we got there, just before we got into the ball tubes, I just want to comment on how gorgeous the rain was.
Oh, yeah.
Because you could see Omega's hair getting wet. The rain was fantastic.
The animation,
I wish we'd watched it on the big screen instead of on my computer monitor, which I think did a good job of showing me just how fantastic it was. But that's high-end anime. Anytime I see weather effects like that on screen, I'm just blown away at the depth of detail that they can achieve nowadays.
I'm just really impressed that like they pulled off that animation in an animated show.
Yep.
That previously had struggled with environmental animations like that, like rain. It struggled with rain. Like I don't think there's maybe there's 1 or 2 Clone Wars episodes where there's rain, but they made Kamino look like it was in the movie in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah. It was so attentive to detail. There's just so and I watched an early season episode of Clone Wars because it was on Disney Channel or something like that when I was flipping through the channels the other day, and I was like, because it's like a 10th or an 8th of the level of detail.
Like it gets better over the seasons, but it never like fully gets to the point that they got to in season 7 and now the Bad Batch, and they've just really cranked up the animation. So like it is just really nice to see how much effort they're putting into the animation.
I think it just has to do with processing power, with the ability and depth of computer technology that we have for now. Because if you look at like playing Pac-Man as a kid and now playing Fall Guys.
It's the effort to render things, but also it's the amount of effort that you're willing to spend on sets and on digital things within the environment, because every time they have to build a new character mold, and they're probably saving a lot by having all of the TK units and clones be similar in shape and size and things like that. They're probably saving a lot because that's actually a lot of sort of digital things that cost. Right. If you were to have like what they used to do with all the clones being all kind of painted different and stuff like that, that's more complex.
Absolutely. A ton more complex. Also, they just have a higher end computer power now to be able to render rain. Which they could never have done before because it just would have taken too much time.
And I know that, like, especially Disney has worked a lot on water animation, and
so many people have.
I'm wondering if there's cross-pollination between, you know, the different groups inside of Disney.
It's like the only thing that's making me interested in Avatar 2, which is coming out like next year, I think, or late.
I don't know. You and I both watched that YouTube video on betting against James Cameron. So
yeah, it's a bad idea to bet against James Cameron.
Don't bet against James Cameron. I know you want to. You're like, why do we need 5 Avatar movies? Well, apparently James Cameron says we do. So he'll be right.
Yeah, he's a weather bell for gauging the interest and the enjoyments of the mass populace.
Yes.
But he's also, one of the reasons it's been so delayed is because the technology for doing underwater stuff for the next Avatar movie.
They're going underwater?
Yeah, apparently it's all underwater.
Oh my God.
So they were developing the technology that would allow for that to be done and digital rendering, and he had to wait for technology and computer speeds to catch up to double enough for it to be possible.
This all makes sense.
Yep.
Like him and George are like really good friends. George Lucas.
How could you not be?
Like they were really good friends because they both tried to advance cinematic technology in similar ways, right? And both are just like not held back by the, well, this is how we always do it mentality, and are always seeking to improve, even if it's stumbly along the way.
Yeah, there are certain amazing directors out there like Martin Scorsese and Darren Aronofsky and whatnot, and I could probably name like 11 more, who are interested in what the camera projects. They want to be able to they want to be able to look through the lens and capture the specific thing that they're looking for. Mm-hmm. George and Cameron are not like that. I don't think. I think they're interested in what the camera is doing.
Right.
And by that, I mean, they want the camera to be able to do things that are involved in a scene as though they're the witness to it.
Right.
And so a lot of the Avatar air shots that we get, and I was watching a YouTube video about this.
Yeah.
A lot of the shots that we got were actual shots where the camera has a physical functional space, a place in the space. So he's concerned about where is the camera and what is the camera doing, even though it's in 3D. Like, this is all 3D. It's all computer animated. Like, there's no camera, but he is concerned about where the camera is.
Yes.
And George is the same way.
Yeah. If you think about that scene in the start of Attack of the Clones, which is the race through the city where he's chasing Zam Wesell, the bounty hunter that tried to assassinate Padme.
The shapeshifter.
The camera literally is almost like a drone that's like following the action and like diving when things dive, and it has physical space as well, that's a really interesting way to
look at
about
the pod race scene.
Yeah.
It looks like, and now having watched a whole bunch of Formula One stuff, it very much looks like the actual camera crews, and you see a camera guy at one point like filming because the race is televised, right? So you see one of the Star Wars cameras filming the race as it goes around the track, and then you see the onboard cameras. So any camera that we see of our hero or the bad guy Sebulba in this, although really Sebulba got proven wrong, he was just like a Jamie Tart, so he's just really good at what he does. It's kind of worn off on him over time. Yeah,
he was just very, very full of himself because he rightfully was very good, right?
Exactly.
But okay, the point of having the camera take up physical spaces so that you're able to tell the story in the best possible way.
Yeah.
And it's not about necessarily like...
Well, it's rooting the audience in a functional physical space, so that they have an ability to relate.
Participatory.
Yeah.
That's the goal, right? And so we get a lot more of that in the newer seasons of Clone Wars, or the new season of Clone Wars and the Bad Batch than we ever did in the original Clone Wars. And so that's a really interesting thing that like you and I have both noticed when season 7, when there was one of the Bad Batch episodes when they raid the tower, and we were like, this was all in one, and the camera follows the Bad Batch in particular movements like it is another person within the frame. And we were both really fascinated by that one shot. I don't know if you remember that episode when we talked about it, but this show, this particular episode reminded me a lot of that, like following the tube and like how things play out. I had a really good sense of space in this. Yeah.
It established where things were and what was happening very well.
Yes.
I have some questions and some frustrations about the end of it, but we'll get there.
We'll get there. I mean, they did put in that was part 1, so you can forgive a lot of things.
No, I won't forgive this one element.
Okay, fine.
Further frustrations, but hey, if you're still listening to this 15 episodes in, you must be maybe enjoying some of these frustrations of mine. So thanks for that. And if you're just bearing with me, well, I have less to say that is negative about this episode, because I really did enjoy the entirety of this episode except for one element.
I giggled a lot. I enjoy Star Wars when it's like at its best. And so, and again, my bar is very low. So best is like, is it doing what it needs to do to bring me into the world? Yes. There are a few things that do take me out of the world. I'm going to explain one of them, and please do look past it because it's just my own personal hang up. I did want to point out that the stuff that we had learned about Omega, she plays a support role. She's always left behind. She comes in the last minute. She has a plan to rescue the team.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that role played by her several times. And traditionally, like in strategy games, when you have sort of like a ranger type role, they often play coordination anyways, because they have the view of the entire field. So if you're playing a video game and you have like a ranger character, they're typically standing back so they're not as overwhelmed by other people. Could be a mage too, long range people. They're probably shouting out the like strategy or the directions or the leadership type pieces.
I was going to say she's kind of like the United States in Axis and Allies. Like she comes into the game one round late, but so much has already happened and she can see how
all
things are laid out.
Yeah.
She like walks in, she's like, haha, America's arrived. And like America always does.
Last minute and then busts a hole in Europe. Yep.
Or Africa. Depends on where the conflict went, right?
It's true. Yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to point that out, that there's a lot of game theory that is in this episode. And then there's a lot of actual strategy that is worked out. And it must have been done in the writer's room. They must have thought through these things. And it's very apparent when you actually view the episode, and it makes complete logical sense. And to me, that is very satisfying personally, as somebody who plays strategy games with you and with others, and somebody who really likes game theory and trying to think of the most rational way or the best way to get to an end objective. Seeing that these things are being thought of behind the scenes, and it presents itself in the script and in the story as how things happen, is like, I don't know, it's like a tickler to that part of my brain that makes me go like, yes, do more of that, please.
Yeah. Also, on the topic of game theory and playing the game, apparently Admiral Quiznos Rampart, which was another name that I came up with for him, he wins no matter what.
Yes.
He's positioned himself to be in a winning position no matter what Crosshair does.
Yes, he has. He was like, he was going to take advantage of Crosshair no matter what. And that was always what Hunter
And I'm disappointed
thought.
that Crosshair doesn't seem to be able to see that.
I mean, do you ever really see the person? Because even if he's not programmed by the chip, he's programmed by
his conditioning.
The conditioning and by the, propaganda of the Empire too, in some ways.
Yep.
Right? And that's also part of it. Because even, like, that's the scarier thing is, like, even fully willing to, not even, like, with a chip, he's still willing to do all of these things because he genuinely believes that the Empire is the only choice for a career for him and a purpose in life.
Well, because it plays to his strengths.
Yes.
And what other place does he have? Again, it talks about, like, Crosshair's unwilling to resign from war. Yes. And we've talked about this in earlier episodes. He cannot see a place where the Republic and the Separatists are done with, and the Empire is rising. He cannot see himself not being on the predetermined winning side and making use of his skills. Side. Yeah. That he recognizes that this Empire will be continuously at war. I mean, it's got to resonate with people that we've talked about and talked to. So he's not irredeemable. No. Because he wants his family with him. Yes. And I guess he must think that the chances are slim that they're going to say yes. But the chances are slim, right? It's if I get them all here and I position them in such to a say way, yes, then I can get that yes from them. And that's all I'm here. That's all I can hope for at this point. He is so willing to to show his family that he's genuine in his intentions that we get our first actual death count since Senator Taw. And even who is not dead. Excuse me, get out of here. Why did you show up? He is in the hospital still in a back tank. We had to get him an extra large one. He is not a two-headed Twi'lek, so It's not possible, sir. Furthermore, security upstairs definitely, I said, do not let that Empire stooge come down here and talk about Senator Taw still being alive. Okay, so we haven't had a proper death count.
In a while,
this is
yeah.
shocking.
I know. The Bad Batch recognizes it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going into death count now?
I think it's the proper time because we've gotten to that moment.
And over to Kyle for death count.
I regret to inform you of the loss of 4 TK individuals.
Troopers?
TK troopers today, one of which being ESO3.
Yes.
I'll get to him in a moment. ESO2. Oh, shoot, I didn't write them down. I may be wrong. It might be ESO3 that lived and ESO4 that died, not ESO2 that is still running around. Anyway, one of the original group that Crosshair was sent with is still around today, and it is the lady who uses the flamethrower who managed to get away. The other 4, so i.e. the 2 remaining that were still around, plus the other 2 that have been added to the group, are unfortunately all dead from one blaster shot from Crosshair.
Yep. Because of mirrors.
One blaster shot.
I love that blasters work this way.
Yes. And that's why they noticed the mirror.
He had preset this up.
That had been predetermined. Because he thought there might be a chance that they're going to go down fighting.
Yep.
And that that his henchmen are going to turn on him.
Yep.
So he takes them out with the intention of saying, I'm honest here. Let's join the Empire. They're not going to care about these TK units. Don't worry. If you're with me,
I got you.
We're golden.
Yeah.
Holy moly. There's so much going on there. Anyway, continuing with death count, we lose those 4. How many droids do you think they took out?
Oh my God. Too many.
It's not really that many.
10?
14.
Oh.
I did not have much of a chance while watching it the second time.
One droid death is too many.
Okay, these are battle droids that are used in a training facility.
Fine.
And they don't talk.
And they look like the death troopers that were killed at the end of Mandalorian season 2. And so I'm still upset about that Luke was the one who was like, I love droids. I love droids.
Yeah, I don't know how much, I don't even know if I want to call these droids. Because I don't think...
No, they're all controlled by the computer directly.
I don't think they had their own internal intelligent thought.
Fine.
So, okay, I have... Can I talk about it? I know we just got through death count. Can I talk about my problem with the episode? If that's cool, before we can come back to some good things.
Yes, but I do want to talk about AZ after.
Yes, I want to talk about AZ too. I have a huge thing about AZ that I really want to get to.
Okay.
But my problem.
Fine, yep.
All of the computers have been wiped. Why have all the computers been wiped? If you're about to blow the city up, why did you need to spend the time doing that?
It wasn't all the computers. It was just the ones in the lab.
Well,
because that's when they said it.
They said everything's been wiped. It was Echo who was plugged into the city's systems.
Oh.
All of the computers have been wiped. Why did you spend the time doing that if you were just going to blow it up?
I think they were just planning on abandoning it. I don't think that they were planning on blowing it up.
That doesn't sound right at all. Okay, so then following up with that, they wiped all the computers, and then they left these
People can
droids.
Still get stuff out of blown up computers.
Why didn't they take the droids? They're used later by the Empire in like a thing. That could have been a great tie-in, but they didn't take any of those droids.
They probably have the schematic somewhere.
I'm sure. The droids were left behind, which was also really puzzling because wouldn't you want to take the things of value? And then, okay, Empire, you already controlled Kamino. You already had all of the troops there, and they already had all of the technology and the programs and the tanks for all of the cloning experiments that you probably want to dig your greedy little dark side mitts into. Why are you blowing up the city on Kamino?
It seems
when
like
you
a weird
already
choice.
Controlled it?
I don't know. They could have used it.
It seems like an intense waste of resources.
Empire doesn't like money.
Which I would have thought Rampart would not before.
So surprisingly, he's really bad at math.
That would be horrible for the person who's in charge of the cryptocurrency.
I know.
He's like, the mining is almost complete. Well, how many, like, he's like, I have hired 700 miners to work in the mill. That's not how
that's not how cryptocurrency works.
That's not how that works.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand. Like, I was graphically and like the cinematography was great. I felt the like, oh no, for the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
I felt worried for them. I don't know why. I mean, they're now Funko Pops, so they're not going to get taken out anytime soon, and they have a whole second season coming. But it was called Finale Part 1. So I'm concerned that they're just blowing stuff up because it looked cool.
What's the reason they blew up?
Why did they blow up the facility on Kamino?
Yeah, especially since they killed the Prime Minister and they controlled the whole place, including the lead scientist. It feels like a good place to, like, do more stuff.
Especially if you've gotten rid of all of the clone troopers and they're all working elsewhere now. If all the clone troopers are gone and it's filled with KT units, why don't you just do all your stuff there? So
the chairs are too high. Just ever so slightly. You know how tall Kaminoans are?
Yeah.
Right? So the chairs, like, Rampart's like, I can't sit in any of the chairs.
Yeah.
It's just like, it hurts like right behind my knees.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be here anymore.
Tarkin's like, you know how much I hate mushrooms. Blow it up.
The problem is that because it's a sea planet and Kaminoans also fish, we've seen that in
right.
Attack of the Clones, everybody kind of smells like a sea town.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's got that salty smell.
It's like right into your genes. Your genetic code is encapsulated.
All the clones, but then all the TK units, once they do a tour there, they're like, you kind of smell like you've been in that port town. Ugh.
Right.
So they're trying to get rid of that smell.
Yeah. Well, that reason is as good as none of the reasons we've heard so far.
Given in the episode, I don't actually think that he was originally planning on blowing up the base. I think they were planning on abandoning it and wiping all the systems and just being like, nope, not there. I think he wanted to blow it up when Crosshair sort of turned. Yeah. That to me makes more sense. Because he's like, I don't need Crosshair. I will accept the loss of this facility. Nothing's there anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. He did say move into position. And with the understanding of that they already knew what position to move into.
Or he's just like pointing at the city and being like, blow that stuff up.
Pew, pew.
Pew, pew.
Church pews fire out of his blaster.
Pew, pew. I do want to say, like, when the Venerators moved the ships, those are called Venerators. Mm-hmm. When they moved through the clouds and had the lightning and stuff like that, it was just so beautiful. Yep. I was like, shivers.
They're like mini Star Destroyers?
They're just the Star Destroyers, the starships that were used during the Clone Wars.
Oh, okay.
Venerator class. Yeah.
Star Destroyer Mark 1 sort of
thing. Yeah. They're kind of like the start of the Star Destroyer line of ships.
I don't have much else. I got 2 points here. You wanted to talk about AZ.
Yeah, I do want to talk about AZ. Oh my god. I like got all squishy inside when I saw AZ come back.
Yeah.
I love AZ. I hope AZ stays forever.
Very much pacifist. Oh no, can I do this?
Yeah. And also, like, having a medical droid would be a really interesting add to the whole group of the Bad Batch. Yes. I did want to talk about that Crosshair in and of himself and to say,
absolutely,
like, they're definitely paralleling Vader in so many ways, like with the burn marks on the side of his head and sort of how gaunt and like he gets because it looks like he's gotten more gaunt, as well as him carrying Hunter's helmet sort of paralleled Luke and Vader walking into the throne room in Return of the Jedi.
Wow.
It's really interesting, these things that they're kind of pulling out to say, hey, look, this is a relationship. But then it doesn't go the way that you think it will, which is really, really cool. And really happy that they're kind of showing us different ways of thinking about this familial relationship that hopefully will give him a chance to be redeemed.
It's funny. He's carrying Hunter's helmet, and then at the end of the episode, Hunter's carrying his gun.
Yeah, that's cool.
I wanted to mention that I'm foretelling an AZ Gonki moment.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah.
That's going to happen.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Yes. If that doesn't happen, I'll be shocked. We have seen the purpose for Gonki has been played out because he's a power source for saving the ship and saving the day. They've made use of him, but I feel like there's going to be more for Gonki to do, and I hope that is in connection with AZ.
Oh, and that would be really cool. I'd love to hear Gonki's thoughts through AZ, similar to C-3PO and R2-D2.
Exactly.
That would be wonderful.
And so I'm hoping for a Gonki and AZ save the day scene, because they're going to be the two left behind on the ship, and then they have to leave and go do something.
All I want is a drawing of the Bad Batch having hand-painted an intervention banner standing there with Crosshair in front of it, just like in How I Met Your Mother. Every time that they had an intervention, they pulled out the intervention banner.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see that as fan art. All the Bad Batch being like, intervention.
So funny.
And then let's talk about what we think is going to go on in the finale.
Well, what's not going to go on in the finale is the continuation of ESO3.
No.
Who is unfortunately gone.
Destroyed in the destruction of the
community. He died. He was the one who gave the order to the others that they're not going to stand.
Oh, yeah.
And ESO3 dies. That was played by Ernesto or Ness Bautista.
Oh, hey, yes, let's talk about him. I remember when you found this out, so let's talk about who is he? Oh my gosh.
So I went down the rabbit hole of who is Ness Bautista because I didn't know who he was, and then found out that, yes, I do know who he was, because if you have seen Sense8, which you haven't, but I'm talking like Marie Claire hasn't, but people on the podcast
may have.
You listener whose my voice is tickling your ears.
Tickle,
whose
tickle.
ears are being tickled by my voice is the proper way to say that. But nonetheless, you, gentle listener, have seen him because he played Diego in Sense8, which was one of our lead 8 characters.
Yeah.
Or the cop. I can't recall which. It has been a couple years, and I didn't watch the final season piece, but he was Diego, a main character in Sense8. So that was really cool. And then going back in time, he's actually the composer of all 80 episodes of The Shield, which
What?
I'm like, what a resume you have now. You're the composer of The Shield, you played Diego in Sense8, and now you're ESO3, and you get like a couple lines an episode for 3 episodes of
The Bad Batch.
But
we also know him from where else?
Oh, I don't know where else.
Didn't you say he was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Right. Oh, yes. He played Matthias, one of the guys in Falcon and the Winter Soldier as well. So he's definitely made a home at Disney. I would like to see him more things, because if I recall Diego correctly, I really liked, actually, to be honest, I just liked every single character in Sense8. And it just was too weird a show for Marie Claire. Although maybe you'd like it now. I don't know. Anyway, so I've mentioned my AZ and Gonki moment. And so the last thing I wanted to talk about was Crosshair's perspective. I would like to know and see more, because I want to know when the inhibitor chip was taken out.
Yeah, that's a really interesting concept. I think it was, when I would have taken it out if I was the writer of the show, would have been when he was in, when he got so seriously hurt.
Yeah.
In the side of his...
Baka?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the name of the planet? Bakka?
Yes. Yeah.
From Jedi
Fallen Order, which, incidentally, EA is doubly downing investing in a Jedi Fallen Order series.
Yep.
Yay! More Jedi Fallen Order.
I'm excited. I knew they were already working on the sequel. I just, to consider that it to be a ongoing running series is delightful.
Yes. I think that's the logical place, like, if we're kind of thinking of it, like, when did he have medical intervention? Well, that's when he had medical intervention, so maybe he was able to get it taken off there.
Right then and there, where everybody else got theirs taken out.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm hopeful that was when it kind of would fit the process.
Yeah.
But if he knew about it from the get-go, if he had it removed earlier, it does open up great questions about his motivations. And nonetheless, what I like about this revelation is that it was not expected, gave us more questions to answer.
Yeah, like why questions or like when?
Yeah.
And what?
It shifted our questions.
Yeah.
And reframed them.
Yeah.
Much like Cameron and Lucas were so good at doing with the camera lens.
Nice callback, yeah.
It reframes our perspective on Crosshair. And I cannot wait to see how this concludes, that builds to the foundation so that, like in Animal and Upon Animal, right? We're adding something to the side again.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen next episode. We're going to build on that foundation so that Crosshair's part of the team, or however that's going to be set.
I really would like that. Yeah.
For the building of the towering structure that is going to be season 2.
I really want him to be part of the core team, even if he's the reluctant, like, drug along, like we take you along and we're going to work on you.
Yeah.
Kind of guy. That would be so cool. I would love it.
He serves as the best foil for Hunter, and he will serve as the best amount of conflict within the team.
Yes. And also it's like a super duper project for Omega, which I love.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah. Omega is going to develop a brand new relationship with someone to mimic.
Mm-hmm.
Who is on the team.
And sometimes you learn bad things from your weird uncles.
Shitty uncle.
Yeah.
So I think that this is going to be an amazing finale to what has turned out to be a really engaging and interesting first season. Could they have told this to us in 8 episodes?
Probably.
Doubtlessly. But
first I want to ask you for this episode.
Yeah.
Bad batch, sad batch.
Mad match.
Mad match. I have bad detach because
you really worked on that one.
I did. Because this is like Crosshair being severed from the Empire and the remnants of what he was before, and now he's going to have to figure that out.
So bad detach or rad detach?
Bad detach.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not going to be comfortable for anybody that he got detached from.
I think it's
Empire.
pretty cool and pretty interesting.
Okay, fine, rad.
I think rad's a neat way to go.
Rad detach.
I went with mad match because of the gamesmanship that happened between all of them. It was very madcap.
I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, and people did things that were unexpected in the end on everyone's parts. Like every single person in the play, except for Rampart, was hit unexpectedly. The mirrors.
Absolutely.
They didn't expect the mirrors. The
droids.
The number of droids. They didn't expect that. The ferocity and the skill set having grown over the season.
Yeah.
I think that also gave Crosshair some pause, but at the same time, their willingness throughout the battle to save each other from the droids
and still talk
was paramount.
Yeah.
And then Hunter switching his gun to stun
his brother
was a great shocker, because I think Crosshair expected to be dead.
Yeah.
I just wish that we had gotten the thumb of the gun.
Yeah.
That we'd gotten to see that.
Yeah.
And Crosshair didn't.
Like a second beforehand. Yeah. That would be a cool edit for this. Yeah.
And that's it.
I think we'll have more to say about the full finale after next episode. I mean, it definitely left us off on a cliffhanger. Like, they're going to be buried under rubble. I know Omega is going to lead them to the secret tunnels and the secret parts of the city under the water. And their ship is theoretically safe because it's out of the blasting range.
Yeah, they're just going to have to be able to find their way to it.
Yeah, so is this going to be one of those, like, escape the maze collapsing city episodes next? Or is there going to be a new threat or a new piece of danger that they're going to have to confront?
I don't know. I know that it's going to be centered entirely on them. They're all finally together, and we don't care or need to see anyone else.
It is so cool in so many ways that's what we're at. And it's like the pressure cooker concept. We just literally came down from watching an Avatar: The Last Airbender episode. You're rewatching it with our son for like the millionth time.
Yep.
And the episode was the Ember Island episode. And that episode is like, the whole theme of it is that the beach has a way of rubbing away the rough edges of everything and smoothing everything over. And it's like, well, this is in a way, a pressure cooker that's going to make this team work together, regardless of the disparate ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's a week away.
And then the season finale.
Exactly.
Yay. Well, thank you for sticking with us. This was a lot of fun to talk about this episode. We're looking forward to finishing this all off.
Yeah. I'm hopeful that this next episode will give us more of that overarching theme. The why is this show happening?
Right.
Piece that I feel like we've managed to touch on a few times. And I hope that what we've been talking about, what this show is about, it will continue to be reinforced by the show itself. Because I'm worried that it's just a tour through the Star Wars galaxy and we get to meet the characters we've all fallen in love with and known from before from the sites of The Bad Batch.
It definitely seems like it's leaned into that.
And I just hope it goes more towards what does it all mean?
Yeah. I hope we get the hints of that in this final episode. I think it'll be hard for them to maybe put too much into it. But if they even say a line like, we've got to do something about the other clones, then I'll know that that's the direction that they're going in. Yeah.
And recognizing that Crosshair sees them as family and they see Crosshair as family and coming to that rapprochement, that reunion is going to be healthy.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Kyle, if people want to follow you or find out what you're
I'm not going anywhere.
I mean, on the internets.
Yeah, you can follow me on the internet. That would be kind of cool.
On Twitter?
Sure. Twitter would be a great place to find me. My wife's there all the time, so I'm there all the time, sort of thing. Yeah, I definitely seem to get lost in my day on Twitter these days.
At Tavertails DM?
Yes. I find if I get lost on Facebook, I get angry.
Right.
And if I get lost on Twitter, I can easily move away from a thread that's making me angry, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas Facebook just makes me angry.
Well, it has a better way of popping up the same conversation that you participated in, I think, with how they built their structure. So
I don't know. All I know is Facebook make the mad. Twitter, I get away from the mad.
Yeah.
And those are the only two that are really have any.
Oh, you spend hours on TikTok.
Not anymore.
No. You've set a limit.
YouTube. I mean, if you commented in a Jomez disc golf YouTube video, then I might that might trigger. I might find you there, because that's where I am.
Hey Kyle, have you watched this episode yet? You'd be like, what is? Wait a second.
Yeah, I do watch a lot of Jomez Pro on YouTube, which is professional disc golf.
And the weekend of this released episode is International Disc Golf Day.
It is.
So you should definitely try it.
The day of the Patreon's deliverance is International Disc Golf Day.
I'm going to try to get it out tonight.
And hey, if you're listening to this on Monday, you only learned about International Disc Golf Day 2 days late. You could have found out about it on the actual day itself. You should join the Patreon at www.patreon.com/whattheforce.
It's true. Yes.
As little as $1 a month gets you access to this episode, raw, uncut, 2 days, most of the time, early.
Most of the time, except for when we were traveling.
Yeah, that was a tough weekend.
Yes. I do really appreciate everybody that comes with us on these weird journeys. Thanks, everyone, and I hope you have a great week until the final episode. Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to What the Force. I'm Marie Claire Gould, your host. Our music is orchestral music by Christy Carew for What the Force. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/whattheforce. We like to thank all our patrons, especially those who love and are obsessed with What the Force. Brad, Melody, Nate Princess in Wild Space, Felicia, Hal Rue, Anna Perez, and Cal Mom, Neil, James, Joellen D, Christian Luca, Josh Johnson, Scott C, and Susan. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube or leave a 5-star review on iTunes or other pod apps. It helps people find the show. Check out our other channel on YouTube or other podcast feeds, What the Fiction. You can connect with us on Twitter at WT Force Show, What the Force Podcast on Facebook, or our website, whattheforce.ca, or on our Discord. Links are in the liner notes. Feel free to reach out and start a conversation. Cheers.